Thank you. I'll start out with a little water. Senator Rubio's staff taught me how to do this very slowly. So they said I could use that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm blessed today to stand here before 5 commissioners that really share a passion for this port and this region. The new video you showed today also showed the work of a lot of people, because although I get to stand up in front of the crowd, it takes a lot of people to make this port work every day. Every day, people get up early in the morning, some at 4 o'clock for ships coming in. The pilots are out on those ships. The stevedores are ready. Our line handlers are tying up those ships. And it takes an entire back room of people to make sure that everything that looks like it's happening smoothly actually happens smoothly each day. Now, the video you saw was the work of many people, but I wanted to especially call out thanks today to Rosalind Harvey and Tara Leith, who worked very hard, both putting that video together as well as planning this event today. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out to the port today. It means a lot for us, and we welcome those esteemed political and business leaders, those in the community who value this port as much as we do. And I truly appreciate the opportunity, and I'm humbled to stand before you today to tell you what your port is working on. And I also want to thank the many tenants and business customers that are here today. It is your rents and your tariffs that make this port the independent port that it is. This port has not charged the people of Brevard County taxes since 1986, and it is because of your rent, it is because of your tariffs and payments, it's because of your successful businesses that we're able to pay our staff, that we're able to build anew, and that is a very huge thing. We thank you for that. So before we launch into the PowerPoint today and the presentation, I wanted to share some words about change from the late Steve Jobs. And these words have always grabbed me. I believe he spoke them at a graduation speech. So here is to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They are not fond of rules, as some of my staff will occasionally tell you. They have no respect for the status quo. They can quote them. Disagree with them, you can glorify them, or you can vilify them. The only thing you cannot do is ignore them, because things change. They push the human race. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, others can see genius, because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are actually the ones that do. So today we stand here today talking about a port, the state of a port that is daring to change the status quo, a port that is daring to change its own community. And together with those rebels and troublemakers that I affectionately call staff, we want to share with you our port today. This port near you, this port that is truly reaching above and beyond. So we're committed to pushing our fellow members of the Space Coast area and well into the 8 counties of Central Florida that little bit forward. We see new trade routes. We see new connections. Population trends have changed in this country, and the 1800s railroad model of freight out of Chicago is not going to meet the future of this country. We see setting a new standard for high quality in cruise service, and we're doing that each and every day. We're changing the world a little bit. We're making it a little bit better. And today, I hope you leave here with a better understanding of your port. So this port, with 5 dedicated port commissioners, open to new ideas, open to investing in the future of the region. It's just crazy enough port director standing in front of you right now, and an energized and amazing staff that get up with dedication and long hours and work hard each day. And we're proud to share with you the changes that we plan for this seaport. We want to work hard to improve the economics of this region that we call home. And we feel a need to expand both the physical presence and the feel, the state of what this port is, its sense of place. And we know we can do that in the coming years. When I arrived just 3.5 years ago, I was promised by Jeff Long, the then CFO, a very simple government job. He said, it's a 9-to-5 job, John, in a southern drawl. It's almost like you'll be retired. Well, you know, it was also described in those days as the little port that could. I heard that term over and over again, the little port that could. A military base and NASA to our north overshadowing this little body of water down here. It was described as some as a sleepy little fishing village highlighted by the cove. It was described by others as a cruise port, moving from number 3 to port 2. I even heard it called Port Canaveral. We didn't even get to keep our real name. But sometimes they'd even add in, well, it's got a little bit of cargo, some break bulk, some bulk coming through. Yeah, it's somewhere there on the north side. But it never all pulled together. They said containers simply wouldn't work here. We actually paid a consultant to tell us that our cargo future was so bleak, why should we even try? Really? We weren't on FDOT's focus. Juan is here today, and I'll tell you, Port Canaveral was not a dot on the infrastructure and strategic system map. When I opened it up for the first time as the port director, it was a shock. We were not in the state strategic logistics studies. We weren't even participating in those. And no one in this county, except Bob Cam, who I saw this morning and said I'd be calling out his name, really cared about the roads and the road network. The TPO was the only organization that really cared about Brevard's future and roads, and none of the rest of us were really paying attention. So sometimes it's a good thing to be crazy enough to not listen to the experts, to not take the defeatist attitudes, and in spite of what the records say, roll up your shirt sleeves and get to work. So today my goal is to show you how this port has already become that catalyst for change. With a $580 million and growing capital budget, it is well underway and it is poised for higher and better things. But I also share with you today our vision as we move that forward of how we can diversify our shared and bound together futures. And I want to repeat that for our region, our shared and bound together futures. And those futures of our children and our grandchildren will come out of this port. It's very important that we focus on it. Dynamic communities have always grown out of dynamic ports. If you're a student of history, you will see that. Settlements grew out of port regions all over the world. They always have, and they always will be. And in a world economy, ports have an increasing role to serve. We no longer manufacture as much as we once did on our shores. So last year, as your interim director, I spoke about our proud 60-year history as we went into our 60th anniversary, and we started to hint at some of the future concepts. Today, while we respect those and we hold them close and treasured, this year in our charter, we protected the tradition of commercial fishing in this port to make sure it always has a future as well as a past in this port. And that charter protects that and will always make room for commercial fishing as well as sport fishing with brand new fishing ramps coming. We are already building the future and we're planning and working harder for next year. This port near you, this port is being noticed in our region, in the state, in the country, and in the world. No one is ignoring us anymore. This gateway to the sea, this trade route connected with cruise and cargo to the Caribbean and South America and Africa and Europe, the Middle East and China. This port will move the goods that we find in our stores. This port is attracting the attention of private investment. People want to come here and spend their money, and we want to see manufacturing get a leg up in Brevard County again. We're claiming our right to a bright future here in the diverse and prosperous Space Coast. We don't want to give up our treasured way of life. We like our easygoing way of beach living, but we can have commerce and we can have business, and yet we can relax too. And we can do all of that with a quality of life and a quality of environment that surrounds us. There does not need to be losers and winners in this joint future. We are embracing this change with a win-win philosophy for our community. So the creation of quality, high-paying jobs, opportunity for entrepreneurship, fostering a pro-business environment are our primary goals today. Today, I hope you leave here knowing a little bit more about your port, but more importantly, I want you to leave here motivated. This isn't the work of one port director or one set of port employees. This is the work of a community. We want you to be willing and open to join us in challenging the status quo in our community. We want you to join us in exploring new opportunities, creating change, be a little bit restless, and seek that growing and dynamic logistics and infrastructure market that Brevard County can succeed in. This can be a dynamic port. This port's mission and charter is fresh and new again. Our legislature has passed our charter and our governor signed it this past week. Governor Scott was here just several weeks ago, and he moved and pledged to put the $600 million of current port funding up another ladder to $1 billion investment by the state in Florida ports. That is a serious investment by the governor and our legislature. Coupling that with the port's generated cash flow and reinvestment in ourselves, we think that kind of progressive port funding program with grants and hard-earned funds will let this port's staff and leadership become real change agents. This port's business sense is sharp and focused, yet our hearts are in the right place. We're rolling up our sleeves and we're pulling in that anchor. Recently dubbed as the anchor man of this port by Orlando Business Journal, my primary job isn't to set that anchor. It's not to tend it in a safe position. It's to pull it in, to set course for new journeys, new tomorrows, and new opportunities. This port, as those in our safety and Coast Guard know, is not a safe harbor, where we want to keep our anchor on the bottom and batten down the hatches to keep the status quo. This port is going places. This port has its anchor up and is stowed. We're ready for changes and challenges. We feel compelled to assist our cities and our neighbors in the best way we can, putting the people of Brevard County back to work again. We think creating jobs and opportunities for local business to grow and prosper right here is the best way for our cities and county government and our schools to put money in their own coffers to be able to also grow again. It's important that all of us reinvest in ourselves. So we welcome you aboard today as we explore this port near you. This could be your first time here. This may be your first stay to the port. Or for many of you, I know you were born and raised here and you remember when. But you need to get engaged. You need to understand that this asset is too much of a jewel, too precious, too unique by both geography and geology not to go places. This port needs to become all it can become. Change is not bad for a port. We heard that at some of our meetings, that change was bad. But instead, change is the essential part of life that we embrace together as a community, to grow, to evolve, and these are both critical and essential for an organization like this. So here we sit as number 2 in cruise, honing in on that number 1 at the bottom of the state. we're set a course for doubling from our current 4 million passenger movements to 8 million passenger movements in the next 10 years, doubling in size. Miami will never keep up with that. Cargo revenue and tonnage will grow by 20-fold. That's not a mistake, 20-fold in the next 10 years. I clearly envision a $250 million a year revenue for this port in the next 10 years. There's a lot of work to do to get there, but it's doable. And the result of that is a $20 billion net economic impact for our region. Those numbers are huge, but they are attainable. We will connect the trade routes in the world economy so our local businesses can import, export, assemble, and manufacture, and they know they can count on the team at Port Canaveral to handle their logistic needs. I see Cocoa, Rockledge, and Titusville as major logistics hubs, starting with the Flagler project in Titusville and building out the Tyco Airport and industrial parks that have long languished in Cocoa off of 528. There's no reason that cannot be one of the most dynamic logistics centers with its central position in the state, and we plan to make it happen. I also see us being the deepest seaport in the Southeast. I wanted to let you think about that a moment. The deepest seaport in the Southeast. We have started a Section 204 study to go to minus 55 feet, and it is doable. In fact, this port is the only port in the Southeast United States where it can happen. So it has to happen. I sat at the Port Directors Conference in Washington, D.C., and one of the leading port directors of the entire country came up with an idea. Let's sell the shipping companies to stop building big ships. Then we won't need to spend any more money. And everyone just sat there. And I said, okay, I'm the new guy. No, we can't do that. Are we going to turn America into a third world nation, or are we going to play in a world economy? If we can get deep, if we can reinvest ourselves, we need to do so. So I also see the city of Cape Canaveral and the city of Cocoa Beach really being vibrant and renewed tourism and hotel tied to our cruise, a city and a port tied together, basically rebuilding, taking advantage of that night before or 2 days before or 3 days after economy. 2 vacations in one will become our motto, so that they come to play and stay as well as going on a cruise. And we know by people having good jobs here, we too can play in our own cities and towns. I see us reaching out miles beyond our border, which is what ports are designed to do. We can't stay in the port district. We need to reach out into the world. That's why we built a port. We have to go places. We have to trade with the world. We have foreign flag ships that come here every day. And then we need to reach inland, into Orange County and Seminole and Lake and up to Ocala and into Tampa and down to South Florida and up to Jacksonville. And we need to put product on rail partner trains, CSX, FEC, and Norfolk Southern. And we're starting to build those partnerships now into the hinterlands, into the inland areas to meet those old markets. I see a world-class cruise destination rivaling the best island getaways without ever leaving Florida. So our goal and mission is actually quite simple. We deeply believe that Port Canaveral can be the best cruise and cargo port in the world, while still maintaining its charm, its recreational opportunities, and fully respecting and caring for nature in our region. And by doing this, our community and our residents will benefit by 100-fold with a continued massive payback on those early tax millages paid between 51 and 86. This debt, quite frankly, has already been paid back in massive revenue, in jobs, business opportunities, and prosperities. Some estimate 20 times the payback for the initial investment, but it's not over. It will keep coming and coming, and that's return on investment. We thank those early taxpayers for believing and investing in this port, and we'll make sure the returns keep coming to this community. So as I start today, I want to thank two people who help me work through things each day. First is to Peggy Gooch. I'm not sure where Peggy is here in the audience today. Peggy's my executive assistant and right hand. She's the creator of the quick presentation you're going to see today, and she is the master of my busy schedule. If you don't get through Peggy, you don't get to me. Peggy keeps me linked with clients and customers and staff and helps me function at a high level every day. Peggy, thank you. Without you keeping me focused, I couldn't focus on the big stuff if you weren't worrying about all those details for me. And of course, I want to say how much I appreciate having a special anchor woman. My wife and friend Susan, the mother of our two children, Tim and Megan. We celebrate our 35th anniversary later this year, and I could not do what I do week after week without you being there as a partner in change and growth. Thank you for keeping balance in a hectic life.